And welcome back here to Hooker Field. And ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my producer, Ty Harrison, it is our absolute honor and privilege to say that joining us up here in the booth, the four-time Silver Slugger, three-time Gold Glove Award winner, five-time All-Star, the 1978 AL Rookie of the Year and 1984 World Series champion, and his number one retired by the Detroit Tigers, sweet Lou Whitaker, joins us up here in the booth. Mr. Whitaker, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Well, we are so glad to have you up here in the booth with us here today on Lou Whitaker Day, nonetheless. At the park that holds your namesake here at Lou Whitaker Park, could you talk with us a little bit about how much this day means to you? A whole day named after you at a stadium named after you, nonetheless.
Well, it's an honor, no doubt about that. I grew up playing in this area. I lived in this neighborhood, and this ballpark here brings back so many memories. And just imagine my name being on a baseball park. You would never ever imagine something like that would ever happen, but here we are today.
And I want to get into your playing career a little bit. We were talking about the Hall of Famer Willie Mays, and then one of the recent Hall of Fame inductees, one of your coaches, Jim Leland, just got inducted, one of your coaches back in 75 for the Lakeland Tigers. Can you just kind of talk to me about what he taught you as a young player? That was your first year in professional baseball. Just kind of any memories you have of him and any lessons that he taught you.
Well, he was just he was a man that was dedicated to his to the baseball, um, and he was like that after he had left and went to Pittsburgh, and then he come back to the Detroit Tigers organization, managing, and when I helped him that 1 year in 2005 when he came back. That's with Jim Leland. So, just speaking about the 1976 season, we won the championship, the Florida State League, and but he loved the game and he loved players going out and playing the game the way it should be played. So it was great memories seeing him then, and as I mentioned, even coming back, he looked like the same Jim Leland, and he was one of those guys that he knew how to put a baseball team together. You didn't have to be superstars, but he would get the most and the best out of each and every player. Amazing.
And then you kind of breezed over, very humble of you, Mr. Whitaker, back talking about the 1976 Florida State League. You actually were MVP of the league that year. Could you kind of just talk to me about any memories you have from that season? And, that was kind of your first real big accolade in professional baseball.
Well, the year before, 1975, when I was drafted out of high school, and I played a couple games at Connie Mack before I signed. I went to Bristol, didn't do well. My uncles came and picked me up in Bristol, brought me home, and the first thing one of my uncles said, "You didn't do too good, did you? Or do too well?" I said, "No, but I'll get better." So the next year went to Florida State League, and just Jim Leland gave me that opportunity and gave me that a literal push or shove during our drills. And from that shove, I mean, I just went on a base stealing uh, season. I mean, I stole like 36, so whatever bases I got back then, and I had a great year. We won the Florida State League and the championship. So Jim Leland was a big influence in my first couple of years in the Detroit Tiger baseball organization.
And now with leadoff hitter Owen Prince at the plate, and he will take high for ball one. You're primarily a leadoff hitter throughout your career. Could you kind of just tell me what a good approach would be for a leadoff hitter coming into a game?
Well, I was told by Gage Brown, go up, even if it's the first pitch, be ready to hit. You don't necessarily have to swing at the first pitch, but just be ready. And if it's a good pitch, I take it. Might be the best pitch you get that at bat. But for the most part, you got leadoff hitters that you may think of, great leadoff hitters, and that would be someone like Ricky Henderson,
Mhm.
always working the count, taking pitches. Me, if I see a strike, I'm ready to, attack. And so, uh, I spent my whole life growing up as a leadoff hitter. So uh, I had a bad year. Sparky Anderson moved me back down to like eighth and ninth, and I saw that he was used Kirk Gibson, Larry Herndon, Chet Lemon, used quite a few guys. He was looking for a leadoff hitter, and so I told him that I walked into his office one day and says, "I'm noticing that you're looking for a leadoff hitter. I'm your leadoff hitter, but I'm not taking any pitches." And so, you know, and so sometimes they're good at bats, sometimes they were really horrible at bats. But you know, I, that's my thing. When I go up to a bat, I'm ready to hit. But good leadoff hitters usually, they like them to take pitches,
Mhm.
work the count, and normally many times they look for base stealers.
As Prince takes now a full count on Owen Prince. And you brought up Ricky Henderson. I think that's a great segue. Ricky Henderson, leadoff hitter primarily throughout his career, then found the power swing a few years later. Similar to you, you didn't have a lot of home runs your first few years, and then then got a few over the fence. Can you kind of tell me, like, did you change your approach? Did you make a change in the swing? What was it that got more power in you?
Well, I was starting to get a little bit older, a little bit stronger, and then we had hitting coaches like Gates Brown, who took me out one evening before baseball game, and he wanted me to start pulling the ball a little bit more. Not necessarily become a pull hitter, but I hit the ball to left field, spray the ball to left field, go the opposite way. My power was left center, and he said, this if I can teach you this little overhang in Detroit, 325 and overhang about 10 feet, I can teach you how to use that to your advantage if you just listen to me. So we worked that day, and he said, now you don't have to do it today. We'll keep working on it. I say I'm ready today, and I started pulling the ball a lot more, and I was giving up outs, trying to pull more, but it benefited quite a few times because my home runs usually put us in the game, win ball games, and so when I look at it overall, it played a huge part in my success as a leadoff hitter. But you got fans who still want you to hit the ball the other way because they knew that I was the guy who got base hits, and I would go the other way. So uh, so you know, learning how to pull. There's some good and there's some bad.
And now on the mound on your screen, we have a pitching change. The freshman right-hander from the University of North Carolina, Jacob Kirby, coming in, and he inherits one heck of a situation. The bases loaded and two outs for the team leader in RBIs and home runs, John Boy Rittenhouse. The last home run he hit was a grand slam against these High Point HiToms as Kirby sets, and the first offering is on the outer half, a called strike one. And going back to Alan Trammell, you and him formed the longest running double play duo in MLB history. That's still standing to this day. Could you kind of tell me about your relationship with Trammell?
Well, Tram, being from San Diego, me over here on the East Coast, when we met, we talked baseball. We were roommates. First couple years in the major leagues, we were roommates. Uh, we'd go out, we'd talk baseball, we eat breakfast together, we eat lunch together. We just got to know each other, and I mean, uh, one of the finest shortstops that you might ever see. I mean, he was just consistent, not the strongest throwing arm, but he always got you out, by that step, always got you out by that one step. But Tram had an excellent career, huge career, and he's in the Hall of Fame because of it.
And I'm sure not too long until you will have your name called in Cooperstown. But going back to Alan Trammell, you two are part of the 1984 World Series champion team, and on the day you won Game 5, your daughter was born that same day. So does that rank up as probably the best day of your life? And if so, kind of tell me your emotions that
I'll
day.
tell you, that's two wonderful moments there. Win the World Series. Well, had the baby that morning and win the World Series that afternoon or that evening. Can't beat it. Can't beat that as an athlete. I've had some other wonderful days in my career, uh, learning things and helping others. In 1982, I started studying the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses, so you know, I took that to heart, and so that's what I do even today.
Kirby, a brief pause. Now the 1-2 to Rittenhouse. He lifts one foul and out of play on the first base side. We'll stay at 1-2. The bases still loaded. Mustangs trailing 3-0 here in the bottom of the 5th.